Starting off our list at number 10 is Robert Pattinson. He won over the hearts of many girls when he starred as Edward Cullen in the Twilight series. However, it's no secret that he hates the franchise more than anyone else. He's been open about his feelings for years and has had no problem bashing and insulting the movie during interviews. He especially didn't like the role he played. He said it felt like his character was depressed and had no emotion, which was incredibly boring to portray for so many years. When the actor did an interview with BuzzFeed, he was asked if he was happy with the pay he got for the movies, and his response was, "Could have been better." He also went on to diss the author of the book, Stephenie Meyer, calling her mad, and said it's a book that should have never been written. At number 9 we have Carrie Fisher, the iconic actress known for her role of Princess Leia in the early Star Wars years. It's hard to imagine she didn't enjoy the role that made her wildly famous for decades to come. Turns out that's actually one of the reasons why she didn't like it, because it made her famous. During an interview, when she was asked if she would have taken the role had she known the film would turn out so big, she responded with, "I would have never done it. All I did when I was really famous was wait for it to end." In November 2016, she opened up in an interview about her time on set as Princess Leia and the affair she also had with her married and much older co-star Harrison Ford. When she was first cast for the movie, she was only 19 years old, which she says was an insecure and lonely time. She felt isolated on set and says she didn't have anyone to confide in, especially Ford, because he was married. The story didn't break news until 2016 when Fisher found diaries she had written during filming all those years ago. She decided to turn her diary entries into a book, and fans were absolutely stunned. Although she loves the movie, she remembers that role being a very difficult time and admitted she wouldn't do it all over again. Taking over our number 8 spot is Blake Lively, known for pretty much all her roles but mainly for her character as Serena Vanderwoodson on Gossip Girl. She took on the lead role in the TV series for 6 years, which put her under a big spotlight. That's the one thing Blake says she didn't like about playing the part. Her character didn't make the best of decisions throughout the series, and fans often couldn't separate the character from Lively herself. During an interview with Allure back in 2015, the actress opened up about the difficulties she had portraying her wild child character. She admitted that it was, and I quote, "personally compromising and stopped being fun after a while." She addressed the fact that her character gave someone cocaine, which made the person overdose, and also the fact that she slept with someone else's boyfriend. Blake explained she isn't proud of her character and said, "It always felt personally compromising. You want to be putting a better message out there." Well, we can at least respect her for being honest about that. It's a shame that she took so much heat for her character's bad choices. Sliding into the number 7 spot is Sean Connery, known for one of his iconic roles, James Bond. He's not known for his performance, but is more known for the controversy he caused regarding the role. He's made it very clear how much he hated taking on the role. He said during an interview, and I quote, "I have always hated that damned James Bond. I'd like to kill him." He went on to explain that he hates not being able to shut off the character after all these years. In most interviews, he refuses to even speak about the role. However, one interview got the actor a lot of hate. During an interview with Playboy, the actor spoke on Bond's tendencies with women, and he said, "I don't think there is anything particularly wrong about hitting a woman. If a woman is a bitch, hysterical, or bloody-minded continually, then I'd do it." You can imagine the reaction he received from people once the interview was published. I'm just wondering why he did it then if he hated it that much. At number 6 is Shailene Woodley, the actress who rose to stardom after taking on her role in the TV series The Secret Life of an American Teenager. She took on the role of Amy Jurgens, who made the dramatic choice to leave her 3-year-old son and go off to college. Shailene worked on the show for 5 years and said that by the end of it she wanted out but was unable to leave due to a contract. In 2013, during an interview with Flaunt, she admitted, and I quote, "It's like anything in life. Whether you're an actor or you work in an insurance office, if you want to be able to leave your job, it's nice to be able to leave. But when you're in contract, unfortunately, you can't do that." When asked what it was that made her dislike the job so much, she explained that decisions her character was preaching on the show didn't match up with her own integrity and morals. She said it was hard showing up to work every day knowing millions of young adults would see these themes, which she would personally never want to send out. Halfway through the list at number 5 is Channing Tatum. Some people might know him for his stripping in the Magic Mike movies, while others will know him as the actor who got to play G.I. Joe. For a lot of G.I. Joe fans, taking on that role would be a dream come true. Well, for this actor, apparently it was forced. In 2015, during his appearance on The Howard Stern Show, he was honest about his feelings on the movie. He stated, "Look, I'll be honest, I hate that movie. I was pushed into doing it." He revealed that when he agreed to do the first movie, he signed a 3-picture deal with Paramount Pictures. When asked about what he disliked so much, he blamed the script, saying that it wasn't any good. He also said straight up that he grew up every morning watching the show and he didn't really know if he wanted to take on the role. Even though he didn't enjoy the part he played, he did admit that he is super lucky and blessed to have been given the movie. Well, at least he can admit that much, right? And at number 4 is Sarah Michelle Gellar, known for her role in the TV series Buffy the Vampire Slayer. The show came to an end in 2013, which had Michelle working full-time on the show for a total of 6 years. And by the end of it, she was ready to move on. During an appearance on The Andy Cohen Show, her co-star Allison Hannigan threw her under the bus and admitted that she was annoyed with the show by season 3. She explained that Michelle had a big career going for her and the show was a lot of work. Michelle later admitted that it was true, saying that as the show went on, she wasn't totally pleased with it and wanted to move on to something else. She told Entertainment Weekly, "I was 18 when I started the show. I'm 26 now. This has been the longest span of my life in one place. There have been times where that's been difficult. You want to pick up and go and try other things." I mean, I can understand that. She also stated that she hated the last season of the show, saying that it went against who her character was the last 5 seasons. Needless to say, she was happy when it was all over. Coming in at number 3 is Angus T. Jones, one of the most successful child stars on television during his time on 2.5 Men. The young actor starred as the adorable kid Jake Harper for the first 10 seasons of the show. The audience literally watched the actor grow up. Come season 9, his maturing character got involved in more suggestive and adult storylines involving sex and drugs. Jones had a lot to say about his character and the show, and he had no problem hiding it. In 2012, during an interview, he said it was very awkward to perform those scenes and he called the show filth. He went on to admit that he wanted to leave the show a lot earlier than he was able to and called himself a paid hypocrite for continuing to make money off the show. When an interviewer asked him about how he feels about his character Jake, now that the show is over, he replied, "He means nothing. He is a non-existent character." His character was eventually written out of the sitcom before making one final appearance in the show's series finale. Alright guys, at number 2 we have Harrison Ford, the legendary actor who was first known for his role as Han Solo in the Star Wars franchise. The actor hasn't had any problems announcing to the world that he didn't enjoy playing the role and that he wanted his character to die at the end of Return of the Jedi, which is why it was such a shock to fans when he ended up in 2015's movie The Force Awakens. Although fans were excited to see him back, Ford wasn't too positive about it. During an interview when asked about his return, he said, and I quote, "I was there to die and I didn't really give a rat's ass who got my sword." Over the years, you would see a pattern in the way he talks about his character. One moment he talks fondly about his experience, or he will completely trash the franchise even if it's brought up. He even poked fun at his character by referring to him as Ham Yo-Yo rather than Han Solo during an interview. Taking our number 1 spot is Miley Cyrus. She's known all around the world for her albums, but her career first started with the Disney hit show Hannah Montana. She took on the role which had her playing 2 characters really, one being Miley Stewart and one being Hannah Montana. It was one role but 2 personas, because Miley Stewart was the pop star Hannah Montana, but no one knew. Miley was hired alongside her dad Billy Ray Cyrus at the young age of 11 years old. The show started in 2006, turned into motion picture in 2009, and then came to an end in 2011. And if you're a Miley fan like me, this was absolutely heartbreaking. Since the show ended, she's opened up to the public about her struggles while playing the role. She explained that it completely altered her childhood because she had so much pressure on her. She went on as far as saying the show gave her body dysmorphia because she felt the pressure that she had to look a certain way. During an interview in 2015, she said, and I quote, "From the time I was 11, it was, you're a pop star. That means you have to be blonde, you have to have long hair, and you have to put on some glittery tight thing. Meanwhile, I'm this fragile little girl playing a 16-year-old in a wig and a ton of makeup. It was like toddlers and tiaras." She also went as far as saying that every morning she had coffee jammed down her throat to wake her up for the long days of shooting. shooting. Cyrus isn't one to be ungrateful and says that she has a lot of great memories from that time, but playing the part was too much for the young girl. Not to mention, as she grew out of the Disney phase, she was ridiculed and criticized harder than anyone because they were so hung up on her role as Hannah Montana. Starting off our list at number 10 is Daniel Craig, who took on the iconic role of James Bond and hated every minute of it. Although fans were thrilled to see him in the film series, he openly admits that he regretted taking on the role after the first 2 movies. He tells interviewers that he was obligated to do Skyfall and Quantum of Solace because he already signed a contract. The actor went as far as saying that he hopes the movie Skyfall tanks at the box office so that he could get out of it. During an interview with the Rolling Stone back in 2012, he said, "I've been trying to get out of this from the very moment I got into it, but they won't let me go. And I've agreed to do a couple more, but let's see how this one does because business is business, and if the shit goes down, I've got a contract that somebody will happily wipe their ass with." Well, it turns out that the Skyfall ended up making over $1 billion, so he was also in Spectra 3 years later. I guess his wish didn't come true. They were hoping he would come back for even more after his contract ended, but in 2015, when Time Out asked him about doing another one, his response was, "I'd rather break this glass and slit my wrists. I'm over it at the moment. All I want to do is move on." Well, that's a bit dramatic and completely inappropriate, but okay. Moving on. At number 9 we have Kate Winslet, who wasn't the biggest fan of her role in Titanic like many of us were. The actress has had a ton of amazing roles, but her role as Rose in Titanic is probably still her most well known. The movie is iconic. The actress realizes how lucky she was to land such a huge role at the age of 21, but she's also gone on the record saying how embarrassed she was by her own performance. During an interview with Hollywood, she said, "Every single scene I'm like, really? You did it like that? Oh my god, even my American accent, I can't listen to it, it's awful." Well, we often criticize ourselves harder than anyone else, but the actress stands firmly on the fact that she hates her Rose character and can't even watch it. Not just her performance, but the actress says that no one had a good time filming the movie. A variety of injuries took place on set and even the crew was miserable throughout the process. She even goes as far as saying that she hates the movie soundtrack because it was so overdone. During an interview with MTV in 2012, she said, "I feel like throwing up when I hear it. I wish I could say, oh listen everybody, it's a Celine Dion song, but I don't. I just have to sit there, you know, kind of straight faced with a massive internal eye roll." Okay, so noted. If you ever meet Kate Winslet, don't bring up Titanic or Celine Dion. Swiping the number 8 spot on our list is Penn Badgley, also known as Dan Humphrey from the admired TV series Gossip Girl. Fans spent years adoring his character, however the actor didn't adore the role like we did. The actor has no problem dissing the series since it ended. In 2015, people interviewed him and asked him about the series coming to an end. Penn responded by saying, "It doesn't make sense at all. It wouldn't have made any sense for anybody. Gossip Girl just doesn't make sense." He even went as far as tweeting out a response to the cover art on the complete series DVD set. It's basically a picture of the cast sitting on top of the New York City skyline. He tweeted a picture of it and said, "LOL we are reclining on New York City. I'm posted up like a futon. Talk about an image of white privilege." Penn often gets asked about his character on the show, even though it ended back in 2012. People usually ask him if he liked his character Dan, to which he replies the same thing each time. His response is, "He's not real. He's a tool on the show with soap operatic arcs, and he needs to be a judgmental douchebag sometimes. I get that, but it sucks when people call me Dan and think that I'm him." Needless to say, the actor is thrilled he's been able to move on from the role and hopes fans will too. Taking our number 7 spot is Jessica Alba, who openly slams her role in Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer. She took on the role of Sue Storm, which was a new perspective fans were excited to see since we were so used to seeing her as the hot girl next door. However, critics ripped apart the movie and also her performance. They called the movie terribly miscast and said that the movie should also be ashamed to show itself. Alba went on the record to blame the terrible scripting and said she was mistreated while shooting the movie. The actress opened up during an interview and stated that the director, Tim Story, made her feel worthless. She said during a scene when she was supposed to be emotional, Tim was like, "Don't do that thing with your face, just make it flat, we can CGI the tears in." She went on to explain that she felt like she wasn't good enough and that this role was the one that made her say, and I quote, it, I don't care about this business anymore. And at number 6 is Jason Bateman, known for many of his roles, but fans raved about him in the comedy Horrible Bosses. The actor said he had a lot of fun with his co-stars filming the first movie, but didn't agree that there should be a sequel. The first movie was a huge success, earning $209 million after its release in 2011, which made Warner Brothers want a sequel. However, Jason Bateman, who starred in both films, saw it differently. During an interview in 2014, he said, "The second one was garbage as far as box office goes. A lot of people saw the first one, but there are plenty of films that made a lot of money where no one is interested in seeing another one." Fans were confused by his statement, seeing as he reprised his role for the second one on his own free will. On Marc Maron's WTF podcast, he admitted he took the role for the paycheck. He said, "That's a paycheck for everyone. Everyone's getting paid, it's a freebie." The actor said he prefers the majority of his other roles over the one he played in this comedic series. Halfway through our list at number 5 is Jennifer Garner, who hated her role in Elektra. The actress took on the role of the assassin Elektra back in 2005. People assumed she'd do an amazing job, seeing as she played a total boss babe for years, but the movie wasn't her best work. She's the first one to point out that she wasn't a fan of the character as well. Well, it's actually her ex-boyfriend Michael Vartan who pointed it out to us. After the movie was released, he told Us Weekly, "I heard Elektra was awful. Jennifer called me and told me it was awful. She had to do it because of Daredevil, it was in her contract." She later opened up about her feelings towards the role, and critics also weren't shy when they tore her performance apart. She responded in interviews by saying she didn't slam the project, but is happy she's moved on from the role. So basically she hated it, but doesn't really want to say it to the press. At number 4 we have Allison Williams, who wasn't thrilled about her role on the hit TV series Girls. The actress took on the role as Marnie, which gave her the opportunity to perform a more complex character. However, she wasn't a huge fan of her character, as she told BuzzFeed, "Marnie would drive me crazy if we were friends in real life, but I had to put that out of my head in order to play her." The actress explained that her character made a variety of bad decisions that she didn't quite agree with, but there's no denying that it is the role that made her a name in this industry. When the series wrapped, she said she was thrilled to move on to other work and other characters. Now that she's achieved some success, maybe she can afford to be a bit pickier about the roles that she takes on. But like, come on, isn't that why it's called acting? Of course you wouldn't do what your character would. It's a character. That's just my 2 cents. Alright guys, at number 3 is Adam Brody, the actor who took on the role of Seth Cohen in the TV series The OC. Fans were head over heels for his lovable, goofy, and comic book obsessed character. However, the actor wasn't such a big fan and is sick of people asking him about it. Critics said he played the role to perfection, which is probably why he's always interviewed about the role even to this day. During an interview with the Huffington Post, when he was asked whether he missed Seth Cohen, he said, "No, I don't. There are fun things about it, but that character? No. That was a character from 2004 and it's very much of that time, and no, my interests don't lie there at all anymore. It gets boring." The show ran for a total of 4 seasons, so I can understand why you might get bored playing the same character, but come on, no need to be so salty about it. In at number 2 is Rooney Mara, the actress who took on the role as Tiger Lily in the movie Pan. There was a huge controversy when it was announced that she was cast for the role, which was debated to be whitewashing. Thousands of people protested the fact that the white actress shouldn't have been cast as the part, and shockingly, the actress actually agreed with them. During an interview with The Telegraph, Mara said she hated being the center of the controversy. She took a lot of heat when she was originally cast, but then took even more once the film came out. She explained that the role wasn't enjoyable because the whole situation made it tricky to deal with. Ultimately though, she wished that she didn't even do it. She said, "I really hate that I am on that side of the whitewashing conversation. I don't ever want to be on that side of it again. I can understand why people were upset and frustrated." She said she enjoyed her time working with the people involved in the movie, but wishes they made more of an attempt to have a diverse cast. She said, and I quote, "Do I think all of the 4 main people in the film should have been white with blonde hair and blue eyes? No, I think there should have been some diversity somewhere. I mean, we gotta give her some respect for at least admitting something like that." Taking our number 1 spot on today's list is Taylor Momsen. People are usually shocked when they find out that Cindy Lou Who from The Grinch is actually Taylor Momsen, who is also Jenny from Gossip Girl, and who is also the punk rock and roll singer from the band The Pretty Reckless. The once cute innocent blonde actress turned her style into a punk gothic style, which is why she decided to end her time on the TV series Gossip Girl. During the 5 seasons she was on the show, she played Jenny Humphrey, a young and innocent teenager trying to make it as a fashion designer. Momsen has no issue poking fun at her character and how much she enjoyed leaving that role. Her style on the show began to change throughout the seasons because her style in real life was. She decided to leave the show where her character was was written out and she turned to the music industry instead. She's had huge success with her band The Pretty Reckless and gets pretty annoyed when people ask her about her time on Gossip Girl. During an interview in 2014, she told RFT Music, "I'm not looking to go back to it. Gossip Girl was a great experience. It helped me in one way, but it also hurt me in another. When we go to shows, the fans don't give a f about the TV show. They are there for my music." If you look back at the TV show now, she's almost unrecognizable with who she actually is today. Most people don't even know that it's actually the same person.
At number 10, Channing Tatum. Channing Tatum is one of Hollywood's many heartthrobs. Any role that requires an attractive muscle man, Channing Tatum could fill. However, he might not always be happy about doing that. Though he found a lot of success in other movies like 21 Jump Street and Magic Mike, when it came to the G.I. Joe movie back in 2009, the actor wasn't too thrilled about his part in the film. While doing an interview with Howard Stern, Channing spoke out about his feelings towards the movie and his part in it, where he told the audience that he didn't want the part in the movie in the first place. Going into more detail, the actor said that he was, quote, pushed into doing that movie, end quote. Channing also said that he was forced to take the part because he had to fulfill a contract that he had with Paramount Pictures. The actor also told the audience that though he liked G.I. Joe growing up, when it came to the film, the quote, script was subpar, and he was unsure if he wanted to actually be Joe, end quote. The film ended up being pretty subpar as the script suggested, and it got pretty mediocre ratings. This ended up saddling Channing with an underperforming movie, and that's never good for someone's career. At number 9, Mike Myers. Does anyone else remember the Cat in the Hat live-action film from 2003 starring Mike Myers? I certainly do. It was pretty cringy, but in a good way since I was a little kid then, and I found everything to be unbelievably hilarious. I enjoyed that movie as a kid, but one person who didn't like it was the Cat in the Hat himself, Mike Myers. After the success of Austin Powers, Mike was set to bump up his comedy and star in a production based on one of his old characters. But before that was all carried out, the actor and the studio got into some debates and there were legal troubles. All of that was just some unnecessary drama. Well, they both ended up reaching an agreement and it obligated Mike to star in the Cat in the Hat movie. He never wanted to sign up for it, and he really made it known how badly he didn't want to be there. According to people who worked with him on set during the filming of The Cat in the Hat, Mike was very rude and dismissive and he refused to talk to anyone. He became a hermit and a diva apparently, and this whole experience and the subsequent film were all so bad that Dr. Seuss's widow said that she would never allow Hollywood to make another movie based on Seuss's books again. Now before I carry on with the video, I would first like to take a moment to ask you guys to consider leaving a like on this video if you're enjoying it so far, and also consider subscribing to the channel to see more videos like this one and continue supporting our platform. At number 8, Jennifer Garner. After the success of the 2003 film Daredevil based on the Marvel comic, the studio decided, hey, this made us a lot of money, how about a spin-off? And so they did it. The spin-off film was based on Jennifer Garner's character from Daredevil named Elektra. It was looking like it would be very successful based on the success of the Daredevil movie, but sometimes things just don't always work out the way you would expect it, and the Elektra film tanked at the box office and received a lot of negative reviews as well. Later on in interviews, Jennifer went on to say how even she hated the film. Later she explained that the only reason why she agreed to the film was because Daredevil was in her contract, but she wished that she was never part of the movie because of how bad it was. At number 7, Edward Norton. Edward Norton was on the rise in Hollywood after he landed his breakout role in Primal Fear in 1996, which turned him into an Oscar-nominated star. This brought him a lot of new opportunities because everyone wanted him, but it also sort of turned him into a diva. With his role in Primal Fear, he was signed onto a 3-movie deal, but he never ended up following through on this. The studio ended up taking action against the actor and decided that in order to allow him to star in the 1999 film Fight Club, he had to make one last film for Paramount after filming for Fight Club ended. It took him another couple years to get to filming another movie for Paramount, and that only happened because the studio forced Norton's hand. They offered him a role in The Italian Job, and at first he refused the role, but both parties lawyered up and threatened to take this matter to court, and Edward finally caved and took the role even though he didn't want to. At number 6, Keanu Reeves. Actor Keanu Reeves found a lot of success after starting in The Matrix, and with that came a lot of drama. Coming out of the success of The Matrix, Keanu got blindsided by his friend Joe Charbonnet. Charbonnet allegedly forged Keanu's signature and forced the actor into starring in the serial killer film The Watcher. Because Keanu was unable to prove that Charbonnet actually forged his signature, and in the interest of avoiding a costly legal battle, Keanu went on to star in the movie, but he stayed super salty about it. When it came time for the movie's release, the actor actor did nothing to promote the movie. On top of that, he was contractually obligated to refrain from talking about how he got involved in the movie in the first place. However, that saltiness did build up, so when that contract expired, the actor was able to talk about the movie and he didn't hold back on spilling the tea on how things went down. He did not hold a single detail back. At number 5, Emily Blunt. Actress Emily Blunt first got her rise to fame after starring in the film The Devil Wears Prada. After the success of that film, she was receiving offers from everywhere, including Marvel Studios, who were at one point considering her to play the role of Black Widow in Iron Man 2. Well, obviously that never happened, and instead she went on to play a role that she didn't exactly want. Fox Studios, the makers of The Devil Wears Prada, wanted Emily to appear in the new remake of Gulliver's Travels. Unfortunately, Emily had no choice but to say yes because there was a little fine print in her contract when she signed on to be in The Devil Wears Prada that indicated that she had to star in one more film with the network, and the network chose Gulliver's Travels. The film ended up being a total failure, but luckily it didn't hurt the actress's career. At number 4, Shia LaBeouf. Even though Shia LaBeouf was the go-to guy for the Transformers franchise, turns out he started to really hate it after doing too many films. When the actor first signed on to be in the first Transformers film, he was contracted into a 3-movie deal. But it turns out that after the second one, he was completely over this story and wasn't afraid to speak out about it either, even calling out the film's director, Michael Bay. When speaking out about his feelings towards the Transformers films, Shia said, quote, "There were some really wild stunts in it, but the heart was gone. We got lost. Mike went in so big that it became too big. Unless you have those relationships, then the movie doesn't matter. Then it's just a bunch of robots fighting each other." End quote. The films were always a success, so even though Shia didn't want to be part of the franchise anymore, the fans still loved him and the movies that he made. At number 3, Natalie Portman. I might get roasted for this one, but the second Thor movie, Thor: The Dark World, wasn't really all that great. Another person who really wasn't a fan of the movie was one of the film's stars, Natalie Portman, who played the love interest, Jane Foster. When she signed on to the first Thor film, she brought a lot of clout to the film since she was already a pretty big name in Hollywood, and at the time the MCU needed that since they were just starting out. But it seems as though the studio got a little greedy with Natalie because even though she didn't really want to be in the Thor sequel, she was essentially bribed with a promise that the specific director would come on to direct the film. Well, when that director eventually backed out, Natalie was still contractually obligated to stay, and so they were able to rope her in for one last movie. The actress lost out on the one thing that made filming worth her while, and she still had to stay on set even though she didn't want to. After that, Natalie swore off making another film as she said, quote, "As far as I know, I'm done. I don't know if maybe one day they'll ask for an Avengers 7 or whatever, I have no idea, but as far as I know, I'm done." End quote. Funnily enough, Natalie is set to appear in the next Thor film, Thor: Love and Thunder, so we'll just have to wait and see how she feels about this experience. At number 2, Daniel Craig. I know actor Daniel Craig as the latest person to take up the role of James Bond, but apparently Daniel Craig wishes he never took up the role. The actor is very vocal about how much he hates playing James Bond, and when promoting the movie Skyfall in 2012, he really let his feelings about the role be known as he said, quote, "I've been trying to get out of this from the moment I got into it, but they won't let me go, and I've agreed to a couple more." End quote. You would think that after some more time, he would have warmed up to the character, but no, not really. Back in 2015, during the release of the next Bond film Spectre, Daniel got even more heated when talking about the role when he said, quote, "At this moment, no. I have a life, I've got to get on with it." End quote. He also went on to say that he would, quote, "rather break this glass and slash his wrist than to be in another Bond film." He must have been really mad when he had to take up the role yet again for No Time to Die, which comes out this fall. And finally, at number 1, Jessica Alba. I have to say that I really liked Jessica Alba in the Fantastic Four movies, but she, on the other hand, did not. When she was cast in the first Fantastic Four movie, she was put under a 3-film contract, so when the first film did well and the sequel was announced, it wasn't much of a surprise, but when the film did come around, it was such a bust, and Jessica hated the movie so much that she almost considered quitting acting for good. Luckily for her, since the sequel did so bad, they never made a third movie, but she did grow to hate the character Sue Storm because of how bad the films ended up being. Maybe it's just the curse of the Fantastic Four, because even the reboot they did a couple years ago did even worse than the original, so honestly, I don't know.